And in that proceeding 13 years ago, the Court of the Judiciary found that the Chief Justice had violated the canons of ethics and removed him from office. We are here 13 years later because the Chief Justice learned nothing from that first removal. He continues to defy law. He continues to disdain and defy the federal courts, refuse to accept the rule of law without repentance or without remorse. It's a good time now to segue into the argument that the Chief Justice makes about the injunction. It's interesting, he doesn't say much about it in his testimony, doesn't say much about it in the argument of his counsel, except to say that Judge Grenade made her injunction permanent in 2016. But this is an important part of the case. This is not a case where there are conflicting opinions of any court. We absolutely agree with the Chief Justice. If we were dealing with competing opinions, we would not be here. But as my co-counsel said, this is a game of constitutional chicken, where there was a conflicting federal court order and a conflicting state court order, and under well-settled law that has existed for at least 70 years, the federal injunction takes precedence. And the Chief Justice simply refuses to accept that, simply refuses to accept the supremacy of the federal courts in that limited circumstance. We cite legions of cases in our brief for that proposition, and that evidence is undisputed. The Chief Justice agreed with me that his administrative order mandated that the probate judges obey a state court injunction that was in direct conflict with a federal court injunction. There can be no clearer defiance of the rule of law than that. My last opportunity to talk with you, I mentioned the Chief Justices of this state that we've had in the 40 years that I've been in the practice of law. One of the most important functions of the Chief Justice as the chief administrative and senior legal officer in this state is to provide leadership. And I know those Chief Justices would have hated this Obergefell decision, but would have said and led on the question, it is the law that must be followed, and we will not defy it even though we hate it. And Chief Justice Moore has been a leader in the exact opposite direction, showing that it's fine if judges are not fair and impartial, that it's perfectly acceptable to ignore the rule of law. And so I want to turn briefly to the question of sanctions. And there is this old maxim, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. The Chief Justice has been removed from the court once before. If we do not remove the Chief Justice this time, this will happen again.
With that, Your Honors, I respectfully request that this court dismiss all charges. 6, as I already mentioned, because it was never even properly submitted to the JIC, and they have no evidence to the contrary, 0. So the evidence before you is 0 on 6. Charges 1 through 5, all dismissed. You have the sworn testimony of a person under oath who testified that he never intended, and this was never meant to, and there's nothing in here that says that he is violating or advocated violating any federal ruling of any court. Paragraph 10 undercuts everything of their argument. And they cannot meet their burden by clear and substantial evidence to have every single one of you conclude that he should be removed, or that by a majority I submit the 4-page order stands on its own. There's been a lot of argument for this case today, but the 4-page order speaks for itself, and it clearly says that he didn't give guidance, direction, and he didn't tell anybody how the Supreme Court would rule. He didn't know how it was going to rule. So with all due respect, we request this court to dismiss all 6 charges against Chief Justice Roy Moore. Thank you.